I feel the Spirit moving in me. I feel the Spirit moving in me.
Aloha! Welcome to Unity Church of Maui's Sunday service. Great to have you be here this morning. Some time ago, we went to a local club here on Maui to go dancing. There was live music, and it was going to be a great time. And we asked for water, and the waitress brought us 2 glasses of ice water. And actually, we only wanted one with ice water and one with plain water in it. So I took I thought I'd go back to the bartender instead of trying to bother the waitress, who was really busy. So I went to the bartender and I said, hey, could you exchange this glass of ice water for a glass of water? We just want water and no ice. And he grabbed the glass from me, turned and threw the water and the ice into the sink, and then said to me, next time, go to McDonald's. And it was like, wow, instantly I felt this rush of energy and rush of blood, and it felt like my head got about this big, and I found myself reaching for the stool that was next to me. I don't know what I was going to do with it, but maybe bang it on the ground. But I quickly decided that wasn't the thing to do. And by that time he had poured my water, and I took it and I said, thank you. And when I turned to leave, the waitress was at the bar and she said, don't worry about it. So I went back to my seat and I'm thinking, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It's like all I could think about was this guy and what he said to me. And it's kind of funny looking back at it. And it's to look at what is it that upset me. Was it the idea that I should go to McDonald's instead of being in this nice bar and restaurant? But what got me, I think, was his tone of voice, because it was so insulting, and it felt like he was correcting me. I felt like, I was a little kid and my parents were correcting me. And I was just really triggered. And as I look back at it now, and this talk is about forgiveness. And one of the first steps in forgiveness is understanding, to be able to look at a situation and realize, what is it that I can do with this situation? And certainly what I looked at was, what does this mean to me? Why does this push my buttons? Besides the fact that I felt like a child, and I felt, corrected, and I felt like that inner critic within me was condemning me for all of my activities. Do you have an inner critic within you that ever corrects you for everything you think and say? And certainly I had this inner critic, and it really amplified that voice. And just, even as I talk about it now, I can sort of feel that energy that I felt in that moment. Okay, I just need to take a breath. And I realize that, when we get into this place of ego, when we get into this place of defensiveness, when we get into this place of unforgiveness, what happens is we shut ourselves off from the peace of our soul that we desire to experience. And so the Course in Miracles says, if you but knew the glorious goal that lies behind forgiveness, you would not keep hold of any thought, however light the touch of evil that may be on it. And certainly in this moment, I felt the touch of evil, because I don't believe there's evil, but I do believe I have error thoughts, so that my thinking can sometimes seem evil because I am not remembering the truth of who I am. But if we can get back into that place of remembering that truth and remembering to forgive, we can remove ourselves from this misguided dream of what has been done to us and get into a place of forgiveness. And it's in that place where we are able to release what's restricting us, where we can experience our freedom, where we can experience our liberation, and where we can really experience our healing. You know, every grievance or every encounter we have with an unexpected teacher helps us to evolve spiritually. And certainly this bartender had no idea what an amazing teacher he was for me in that moment. To reflect to me my own thoughts, my own feelings, my own error beliefs about myself, and to get into this place of deciding that I wanted to experience a healing around this experience. This lesson comes from an ancient Hawaiian proverb that states, Heva, KaLima. Heva, KaLima. And the English translation of this is the hand is at fault. In Mary Kavena Pakui's book, Oelo no Eao, she writes, "It is believed that when one had done wrong, the hand was smitten with a disease that remained until he asked for the pardon of the person that he had injured." You know, this Hawaiian proverb reveals ever more layers of meaning. Kind of the more that we can look into it, we can understand more about Hawaiian people, about their traditions, and really about how they experience the fullness of life and some of the practices that they practiced to really experience all that they are. And I believe that this parable has a significant metaphysical interpretation. And of course, it is about forgiveness. You know, this parable refers to the hand being afflicted with a disease until a pardon is asked for. And I'm going to expand this proverb to apply it not only to the person who has done the hurtful act, but also to the person who has been hurt and has the opportunity to forgive the perpetrator or the person that they believe hurt them. If the person who is hurt by the offender does not forgive the offender, he or she faces the same consequences. And as this proverb would say, you know, that their hands become diseased, or they're not able to function in a whole way in their life, in their world, as a spiritual being. You know, the hands being affected represents what happens to our mind, what happens to our body, what happens to our soul when we do not forgive ourselves or others for things that we perceive have been done to us. We literally become filled with dis-ease. And our energy becomes drained, and in a sense we become disabled and unable to experience the fullness of life. Someone said, when we forgive, we in no way change the past, but you sure do change the future. This amazes me. It's a miracle, really, because when we are able to change the way we experience something, it creates a miracle in the present moment, because we respond differently than we would have if we didn't have that change in perception. Rumi said, "Your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it. And to me, that's like, wow, that's like the very basis of this spiritual journey, isn't it? To discover what it is within ourselves that's not working. To have that understanding, to be able to explore within ourselves, what is it that's not working for me? And how can I change that to align my soul and my spirit with the truth? We always have a choice between anger and serenity. And it kind of comes down to, do we want to be right or do we want to be happy? Now, certainly, there was a part of me with this bartender that wanted to pick up the stool and, I could go back to an old Western, I guess, and smash it on the bar, right? With that kind of animalistic response. Or certainly I felt like I wanted to do something with it. I didn't know. Maybe it was just to smash it on the ground to show my anger. There was a part of me that felt like I wanted to demonstrate to him that he was wrong, to make him wrong in some way. But really, what he did impacted me and had nothing to do with him. My experience of what he did was all about me, and it wasn't about him. So we are constantly making the choice between experiencing a miracle and experiencing anger. The Course in Miracles says that a miracle is a change in perception. So for me, the miracle in this situation was to understand what happened in me and to be able to change the way that I saw that. And then as a result, discover the healing and change my behavior, change my experience. Every grievance that we hold can be likened to a scrim that drops down in front of our eyes, right? And the more of these scrims that gets dropped down in front of us, the more we don't forgive and we hold on to these scrims. After so many, we can't really see through them, right? They become a block or a curtain for us to be able to see the truth or to experience the truth. And I really think this is what Mary Kavanapaku is talking about, because we can't act out of the truth of who we are if our vision is so blocked by unforgiveness, by these scrims that dilute our ability to see. With an opaque drape in front of us, we can't see where we're going. And we can't get anything done really effectively, and we can't participate in life because our vision is so closed and is so blind. Holding a grievance separates us from our true self. Because when the Course in Miracles says we can only experience love or fear one at a time. And when we're holding on to a grievance, we're experiencing fear, right? Because we're projecting something fearful into that grievance that then affects our behavior and our thinking. And so when we're stuck in that, we cannot participate fully in life. We can't connect with our higher self, with our spirit, and with our truth. And it seems to me that it's often the small grievances that keep us from experiencing the truth of who we are. And I guess that's kind of my invitation today. Rather than, people often say, well, gosh, I really have nothing to forgive. I'm not holding any grievances against anybody for something they did to me. Well, so this lesson, this talk today is really an invitation from me for you to look at the small things in life that, like this thing with this bartender was really a small thing, but for me, it opened a whole new opportunity for me to understand and experience what holds me back from being totally present. We often think that I guess I should say it this way, I sometimes have thought in the past, if I don't forgive somebody for something, then they're going to feel that pain. And the truth of it is, when we don't forgive anybody for something, they don't have any idea. And their lives go on. And the truth of it is, the only person that gets hurt when we don't forgive is ourselves. So in order to live full lives, we want to look at what can we forgive? What are the things we can forgive within ourselves and in others that keep us from experiencing the fullness of life? In ancient Hawaiian spirituality, it was thought that anger and resentment and painful memories could be transformed through a technique called Ho'oponopono. And although this name is long, the healing technique is really very simple. It involves repeating these 4 phrases. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I love you. And thank you. And these phrases can be used in any order. So what is Ho'oponopono? The word ho'o means cause in Hawaiian, while ponopono means perfection. So the term Ho'oponopono can be translated as to correct a mistake or to make it right. It's a practice that really isn't very complicated. It's quite simple because we look at these phrases, and if we really pay attention to them and we really embrace them, they cause amazing healing to happen on an incredible level within us. If I had used Ho'oponopono with this bartender, it might have looked like this. After the event happened and I went back to my seat, what if I just said, "Oh, I'm sorry"? What if I don't think I'd go up to the bartender necessarily and say this, but I'm processing it in my own beingness, right? I'm saying, I'm sorry that you're having a hard day. That's what I noticed about him, was that he was busy and he was frantic. And so I could say to him, to his essence, to his spirit, just, I'm sorry you're having such a tough day. And then I could say, please forgive me. Please forgive me for any part that I played in making your day more difficult. It's whether it's true or not or whatever, but I'm just putting out there this idea of forgiveness. To say to him, to his beingness, please forgive me. To the universe, which is really where the healing happens. In me is where the healing happens. And the next phrase is to say, I love you. And to imagine, for me to imagine that I could look at him and say, I love you. As a human being, as a spiritual being having a physical experience, as a relative of mine, a human being, I can say, I love you. And the next thing that I could say is to say thank you. Thank you for being my teacher. Thank you for helping me to understand more deeply some of the things that come up for me when things like what you said were said, that give me the opportunity to self-reflect, to spiritualize the things in me that aren't the absolute truth or don't mirror the truth that I want to experience for myself. To say thank you. The main purpose of Ho'oponopono is to seek and to cure these these error thoughts within ourselves so that we can, spiritualize them or bring them into truth so we can experience the calm peace of our souls, so that we can experience the fullness of life. The traditional version of Ho'oponopono consists of these 4 phrases. I'm sorry, which I think means to have a change of heart. To say that, you know what, I am really wanting to be present, to changing the way that I'm thinking, the way that I'm feeling, to unite with the essence of life in my fullness, to experience the truth of who I am. And to say, forgive me, to say forgive me to myself, to forgive the universe, to be forgiven by the universe, to be forgiven by this man that I don't even know, but just to put that out as a kind of a clearing or an essence of enlightenment, and to say I love you, to be the presence of love, and to acknowledge that that is, I believe, the reason that we're on this planet is to experience the fullness of love. And lastly, to say thank you, to be in a place of gratitude, to be grateful for whatever happens, grateful even for the difficult situations, because being in that place, experiencing something difficult and being able to transcend it gives us all the strength and the wisdom and the understanding to continue to live our lives from a place of gratitude. And from that place, we can experience all that we are. And we know as we express gratitude, we attract to us more of the thing that we're grateful for. So simply repeating these phrases helps to remove these blockages in our mind, in our spirit, and in our body, so that we can have more power, that we can be more in control of our essence, so that we can be more present to all that we are. So in short, it can kind of be said that Ho'oponopono is a spiritual problem-solving process that happens entirely within us and clears out all the blockages so we can live our fullness. So I thought it'd be fun to practice this in a meditation today. And so we'll use the Ho'oponopono experience in this meditation just to try it out and see how it works. So I invite you to close your eyes and take a deep breath. Just breathing into this moment. Letting go of all of these words, just to be present right now with the essence of all that you are. And for this meditation, we'll use it as a self-healing meditation. Really looking to clear the blocks in ourselves for ourselves. So before we experience the phrase, I'm sorry, I invite you to just kind of slip into that place of understanding within yourself. And to ask yourself, what is something that you can forgive yourself for? Maybe for some pain you've caused yourself, or some thoughts, limited thoughts that you might have had about yourself. Perhaps being overweight, or too skinny, or having a problem with nicotine or alcohol. Maybe even for a health challenge. And breathing in and breathing out. And I invite you just to embrace the word or the phrase, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for these thoughts. I'm sorry for this action. I'm sorry for this weight. I'm sorry for this health issue. And just breathe into that. And to do so with love. It's not about regret or resentment. It's just about being in the moment. And the second phrase is, please forgive me. It doesn't matter who we're asking for forgiveness. It could be your higher self, it could be the universe, it could be spirit. Please forgive me. Say it to yourself and mean it. Forgive me for these actions or for these thoughts. And the next phrase is, I love you. And say it to your body, I love you. Say it to your mind, I love you. Say it, feel it, mean it. I love you. Say it to your spirit, to your higher power. Say it to God. I love you. And the final phrase is, thank you. And thank your body for all your body does for you. Thank your spirit. Thank the presence of God that's within you and throughout the universe. Thank you yourself for the truth that you know, for the spiritual path. Thank the universe. Thank that place in you that forgives you. Thank you. And let's rest in this place just for a few moments. Breathing in and breathing out. Slowly allowing your awareness to return to this moment. And I invite you to open your eyes whenever you're ready. So I invite you to use this process of Ho'oponopono. It's a powerful exercise used for hundreds of years to release the things that keep us from being the powerful expressions of spirit that we are. And the affirmation that I have for today is, I am forgiving and forgiven. Let's say that together. I am forgiving and forgiven. I begin again on a higher, better level of consciousness. Say it again. I begin again on a higher, better level of consciousness. And so it is. Thank you for being here today. It's really amazing to be able to do this work with you. And I hold you in my heart, in my thoughts daily, and look forward to the time that we can be together in person. And I think just to add on to that, to hold in our hearts and minds a thought of healing for our government, for our leaders, and for all people who are suffering in some way right now. And just to let's just hold that in our thoughts and in our minds, that and to visualize us moving through this pandemic in powerful ways, and know that mighty currents of God's love is touching all people right now, all souls, all spirits, touching our planet in ways that bring wholeness and healing to all life. And so it is. All right, so I invite you now to prepare your love offerings and your donations to Unity Church of Maui. We are, as you know, totally supported by your gifts and what you give to us. And I like to think that through your giving to us, you are part of our expression of truth in this world. And thank you for being a part of that and for joining together with us. And I'd like to invite you to consider in your mind what your gift will be, or to hold your gift in your hand. And let's affirm and pray together our prayer and affirmation of prosperity, which begins, through a grateful, giving heart, my mind and life overflow with the abundance of God's all-providing, infinite supply. And so it is. And we know that God is providing through us, as us, all that's necessary to bring our lives into the fullness that we're here to live. And if you're wondering how you can give to Unity on Maui, we make it quite simple. You can put a check in an envelope and send it to 483 South High Street in Wailuku. And you can also go to our website, www.unityonmaui.org, and click on the donate button and make a secure donation there. And thank you in advance for your gifts. Let's see, I've got just a couple announcements. My talk next week is titled, Vote for Yourself. Now, I'm not suggesting that you don't vote in the presidential election. I hope that you will. But what this talk is about is to take steps towards your own well-being, to be on your own side, to be for yourself. And next week we're going to talk about some ways that can help to build us spiritually and mentally, so that we remember the truth of who we are and remember to stand up for ourselves spiritually, so that we can express the fullness and the wholeness of the essence of truth that we are. So that'll be next week. don't forget, vote for yourself. And if you enjoy our Sunday talks and the music that we have provided in the past, you can always go to our Unity Church on Maui YouTube page, and you'll find an abundance of music and old talks to inspire you in your time of desire. So you can check that out. We have a couple Zoom meetings happening a week. Today at 11 o'clock, we'll have a Zoom connection, and where we get together and talk about this talk and whatever else is going on in our lives. And you can find the link to this Zoom meeting in our newsletter and also on our webpage. I look forward to seeing you at 11 o'clock. It's always great to see people's faces and to connect. And I think that's so much about what Unity is about, is being a part of a community. So please join us today at 11 o'clock. And I'd like also to invite you to join me for the Daily Word and a meditation on Wednesday. And you can access, that's also Zoom, and you can access those links the same way in our newsletter and on our webpage. And I think that is just about all that we have to, what? Oh my goodness, I almost forgot. Thank you. My editor-in-chief, Emily Goss, is standing here off to the side, and she says, oh no, don't forget the annual meeting. Yes, the annual meeting is happening today at 1 o'clock, and you can find those links in our newsletter and on our webpage. And please come and be part of our community. You don't have to be a member to join. We'd love to have you come, and you get to see the board and myself talk about where we are at Unity Church of Maui and how we see ourselves going forward from here. And it's been very exciting, and we are anticipating much more excitement in the future. And so please come be a part of our community. Now I think that's it, yes? So at this point, let's bring our time together to a close. And I just want to remind you that I love you, and I bless you, and I appreciate you, and I behold the Christ in you. And in doing so, why don't we end today by praying together the prayer for protection, which begins, the light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, and the presence of God watches over us wherever we are. God is. God bless you, my friend. Have a great day. Mahalo and aloha.
Where I live, they're all raised